MK Machining recently launched the Mark 2.6 version of their Bullpup chassis for bolt-action rifles. In this video, we're going to get it out of the box. We're going to show you what's included, put together a rifle, and compare the ergonomics of a bolt-action Bullpup rifle with a conventional bolt-action rifle. Hey guys, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. What I've got here is the Mark 2.6 Bullpup chassis from MK Machining for Remington 700 short action and clones. I should mention that the Remington 700 long action and clone version is also available, and I also saw on the MK Machining website they're taking pre-orders for the Tikka version of this chassis. Let's get this out of the box and see what's included. Okay, so for major components, we have the buttstock, we have the main chassis components, we have the forend, and then there's all of the hardware bags. And what's nice about this is that they're individually labeled, like what's inside. You'd think everybody would do that. This is a really, really nice touch. So we've got spare hardware. We've got the Calvin Elite trigger. That's right, it comes with the Timney Calvin Elite. So you can deduct that from the cost of your build and include that as a part of the cost of the chassis, which is just under $2,000, I think by $1. The rear action shim, if we need that to support the back of the action. Buttstock hardware, linkage components for the Bullpup trigger assembly. We've got the action screws and then the forend hardware. So that's what's included with the chassis. I'm gonna go pick a rifle and start to put this together. Quick progress update. I've got the barreled action installed. The rifle that I decided to use for this, the barreled action that is Shorty, which is our 16-inch barrel 308 Winchester built on a bat igniter short action. I took the rail off because we're not going to need that. The process so far has been, first I installed the trigger on the barreled action, and that's a matter of pounding in the two pins. Make sure that you get it oriented correctly, because without a trigger shoe, it would be easy to install it backwards. Then we remove the Picatinny rail scope hood, which is this part right here, because it's covering up the chassis where we need to drop the barrel to action in, and the side plates as well. The side plates cover up the operation rods, the op rods, and so we need access to those areas on both sides, so that we can hook up the safety rod that goes on the top here. And there's this clamp block here that can sort of free float and actuate the safety. Show you that real quick. So safety is front, safety lever back, safety off is just pushing it forward. So that's just gonna rock the safety lever when you clamp it down. So then it's a matter of installing the trigger actuation linkage on both sides and getting that set. So if we put our bolt in, we'll see we can put the safety on, and then I keep wanting to go back here. It's kind of funny. Take the safety off and the trigger actuates the trigger. So the instructions provided by MK Machining provide detailed instructions, and it's a matter of getting the linkage at 90 degrees and getting the trigger travel and the lateral position of the rod set correctly in the rear clamping block and in the front clamping block. So now that I've got the barreled action installed, there's also a front action screw here and a rear action screw there that comes with the Bullpup chassis that clamps it in place, obviously, just like a regular one. And I did use the shim that supports the rear tang over the back portion of the center section of the chassis. So next, I'm going to put the side plates back on. I will install the buttstock, the Picatinny rail scope hood, and the fore end. And that's going to get us really quick to going out to the range. Okay, so for the final assembly, we've got 4 screws that hold on the fore end. We've got 2 screws that hold on the buttstock, 2 screws that hold on the cheek riser. I reinstalled that. And then the Picatinny rail scope hood has 6 screws, 3 per side, that hold that in place. I selected an Element Optics Helix HDLR 2:16 by 50. And I think that's going to be a good scope to try this out. I also fired a couple test shots and validated that a Magpul PMag 5 7.62 by 51 feeds just fine. That's good. And the mag seems to fit good. It's got the mag release right here. And so what that means is we're ready to head to the mid-mountain range and sight in this rifle. So let's talk about my shooting experiences with the Mark 2.6 Bullpup. We got up to 100 yards, and I did what I typically do with a rifle. I start with a through-the-barrel bore sight. I'm literally looking down the bore. I'm creating a perfectly concentric relationship between the rear of the barrel and the front of the barrel. And then I'm centering that on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper at 100 yards. What I want to do is hold the rifle real steady and then adjust the scope turrets until the point of aim matches the point of alignment between the barrel and the target. Pretty simple process. Within no time we were on paper, and I made quick adjustments to get things zeroed. I will note, if you want to look straight down the bore, there's 2 5/32 screws here that lock the buttstock adjustment for length of pull. I loosened those and just took the rear section of the buttstock off, the butt pad and the rods. That and removing the bolt allows you to look straight down the bore, and then it's just a quick process of reinserting the butt pad in that rear part of the buttstock, getting it tightened back down. And then I chose to shoot from a bipod and rear bag just because of the unique setup here, and it would have interfered with our bench rest, so I just decided to keep it simple. 308 Winchester with a lightweight setup like this is a little bit snappy. Let me talk about the load that I was shooting. So we've got brand new Peterson brass. We've got Sierra 175 grain SMK 30 caliber bullets. And it looks like we're using 43 grains of Varget for this load. So a pretty typical type load and pretty snappy. It was definitely something that you could feel, definitely really manageable. Just something to be aware of is your rifle will likely weigh a lot less with the Mark 2.6 Bullpup setup than it would with a conventional stock and conventional hardware and accessories. So I shot a 3-shot group. The 3-shot group looked like it was maybe about 0.6 inches, something like that. Made sure I was completely zeroed before I left the 100-yard range, and that meant we were ready to go to 400 yards. So we went up behind the Ultimate Reloader cabin. We've got our coyote target and a couple square targets up on the hill there. I dialed up my dope. I was a little bit high initially, but then no problem stacking shots on steel at 400. Then we moved down to the industrial yard, which is literally an industrial yard. I've got a flatbed truck parked there. I've got a snow plow down there, a road sander, all that kind of stuff. But it makes a great shooting environment. We've got a bunch of steel targets up on the hill, and we can just sort of stand offhand and shoot at 50, 75 yards. It's a really good environment for handgunning and for shooting offhand with lever guns or a setup like this. And it was pretty fun. I'll have to say, at this point, I was pretty much used to the unique ergonomics of running the bolt, right? So you've got the rifle and you kind of reach back like this, down, and then you have to really work on getting used to moving your hand forward from the bolt to where the grip and the trigger is. But once you do it a little bit, it's really not a big deal, and it's actually kind of fun for something different. I will note that MK Machining has worked with Curtis. The Curtis actions are available with a forward swept handle. That's going to minimize the difference between a conventional bolt setup and an MK Machining Bullpup setup. So that would be a curious thing to try if I was going to put together another one of these rifles. After getting back from the range, we put it on our trigger scan. Let me show you what happened there. To test the Calvin Elite trigger that comes with the MK Machining Bullpup, we've got the world's premier trigger testing setup. It's the TriggerScan TS11 from Dvorak Instruments. So what we're going to do is run 3 scans, and we'll see what the trigger looks like on a graph. Okay, so scans are completed. Looks incredibly clean. You don't see any of the little jaggy marks that you get with gritty creep or anything like that. It looks like peak force measured 0.469, 0.411, 0.426. So we're probably just over 0.42 average pounds peak force. That is awesome. So the trigger on this, absolutely awesome. I think MK Machining was wise to put a really high quality trigger in this setup. The Timney Calvin Elite, specially modified for the mechanics that I showed you when I put this rifle together, where we've got essentially posts coming out each side that are connected to control arms. The control arms pivot that pin, and that pulls the trigger. And then on the other side, we've got another linkage that has a post that goes into the slot for the safety actuation, and that's what does the safety. So overall, a pretty simple setup, and the trigger scan validated that we've got a really nice clean pull at about a half pound. That's pretty amazing to be able to get it down to that. It is an adjustable trigger, so adjust it to suit to your preference. So one thing I wanted to point out was MK Machining advertises this setup compatible with 16-inch barrels, and that's exactly what I've got here with the 308 Shorty. But you'll see here, if you look carefully at the fore end, we couldn't quite squeak a full diameter suppressor without a sweep on the cross section here because of the way that the fore end ears here are forward. But this Banish 30 had no problem because we've got that flare and it's a smaller diameter suppressor. It looks like it would actually fit even if it was completely flush on the end. So that's just a note. I know not a lot of you have 16-inch bolt guns, but it is definitely possible, and you just have to keep in mind the clearance issue with the fore end. The fore end could be easily modified. I know you probably wouldn't want to do that either. It runs smooth. We had no problems with feeding, 100%. So that's a really good kudos to MK Machining for getting the feeding sorted out. So really at the end of the day, this is a totally unique take on a bolt action rifle, and you can use your existing Tikka, Remington 700 long action, or Remington 700 short action in this platform and completely transform the dynamics of it. You want something different? This is definitely something to take a look at, and I had a lot of fun shooting it. What I'd like to know is, what do you think about the Mark 2.6 MK Machining Bullpup? Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what you don't like about it. And if you were going to put a rifle into this platform, would it be a Tikka or a Remington? Would it be a Remington 700 long action or Remington 700 short action? What cartridge would you be shooting? I would love to know what you would do with a rifle setup like this. I'll see you down there in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.